I'm so happy to be in the house of God, to be with all of you. Hey, before you're seated, why don't you turn around, high five somebody? I don't know how you're feeling, fist bump, chest bump. I don't know what kind of Wednesday it's been, but just tell them how good it is to see them in church tonight. Huge shout out to Pastor Sam and Pastor Johnson who covered for me while I was out of town. I'm so grateful for two awesome men of God that just love preaching the Word of God and love helping people. Thank you for, I just heard so many great things about church to the point where I had to pray because I was jealous that I wasn't here. And it's good to be back in the house of the Lord on a Wednesday. Y'all look around. This is Wednesdays at Christian Life Austin. We have an amazing crowd. Thank you for loving the house of the Lord in the middle of the summer. Man, I get giddy to see all of you on Wednesday night. This is a fun. Summer is always fun, I think, for me at least, during midweeks because man, we don't have to rush and get the kids home to bed. You can rush home, but they ain't going to bed right away anyways. You know that. So you can use that excuse when you're trying to cut out of here early, right at the end of the message. They ain't going to bed. You're just trying to beat the crowd out. I get that. That's fair enough. All right. But it's fun because during the summer we have people that show up on Wednesday nights because, listen, I understand when you have small kids, it makes it more difficult. We tried to accommodate that, moving our midweek service to 7, which I know helps some, probably hurts some others too, and I'm sorry about that. But I just love summer, midweeks in the summer at Christian Life Austin. And if you've been around our midweek services, when I'm in the pulpit on Wednesday nights, you know that for the last long period of time, we've been working through the book of 1 Samuel, and tonight will be no different. We are there tonight. Here's the crazy part. We are very close to the end. We're in chapter 30 tonight, and there is one more chapter after tonight. So I'm going to have to figure out what the Lord wants me to preach after this. My Lord. It's 2 Samuel. We may just go right into 2 Samuel. You never know. But no, if you were here when we studied chapter 29, you'll know that we saw David found himself in what I called no man's land. He was on the run from King Saul, who obviously had multiple, upwards of 20 attempts to murder him. And in his running, he takes refuge in the enemy territory of the Philistines. And then in some course of action, the military commanders, they're about to go to battle with the Israelites, and David is suited up to go to battle. He's on the Philistines' team at this point because Saul and the Israelites have abandoned him and pushed him out of his home country. And so he's about to go to war with the Philistines, but the commanders of the Philistine army, they're starting to get leery. They're like, man, what's going to happen? What if this guy, we get in the middle? What if this is all a hoax? What if we get in this war and David's he's still on Saul's team, and then he kills us from the inside? And so now what we find in chapter 29 is that David can't go home because Saul's trying to murder him. But what he discovers quickly is that he can't stay where he is either because they don't trust him. And so he's in this place that I called no man's land, this place of in between, this place of what do I do next? Where do I go from here? Nobody cares about me. Nobody loves me, feeling without question rejected from humanity. And we see that he does the next best thing. He starts to move back to where his family is and the people that left Saul and came with him into the Philistine territory where they're all camped out. And we found out that really, even in no man's land, David was still in God's hands. And God still had a plan for his life, even when he felt like he was rejected from humanity and people, and nobody cared about him and nobody loved him. And what's amazing that David didn't have the vision to see it. That's how many of us are. We can't see what God is doing in the moment, and what feels like rejection was actually a redirection, because what I love about the God that we serve, he didn't allow David to step into a battle that wasn't his. Because had David stepped into that battle, keep in mind, he would have been fighting against the very people that he was destined to lead in the very near future. And God kept him from a battle that wasn't his. And so chapter 29 ended with David and his men leaving the battlefield, heading home to Ziklag to figure out what in the world we do now. Rejected by humanity. Nobody really wants us. Let's go see what's next. Let's gather our family. Let's get together. Let's have a meeting. Let's figure out y'all, where do we go from here? I mean, we're in a bad spot. This is where they are as we pick up chapter 30. And here's what the word of the Lord says. And it came to pass when David and his men were come to Ziklag on the third day, the Amalekites had invaded the south and Ziklag and had smitten Ziklag. Yo, you can't make this stuff up. David was already in an awful situation. He couldn't stay where he couldn't go back to where he was. He couldn't stay with the people that he had taken refuge from. So he goes with his tail between his legs back to where he's made a home in Ziklag, trying to figure out what we're going to do next. And when they get to their home, he gets home only to find that it had been ransacked. That everyone that he knew that was left had been taken from their home. The Bible says that it was actually burned with fire. They attacked Ziklag and burned it, watch. And they had taken captive the women and everyone else in it, both young and old. Now, I guess if there's a silver lining, they killed none of them. But they carried them off as they went on their way. So, I know I've belabored this point, but I'm going to hammer it home one more time. David can't go back to where he was from, his homeland, because Saul's trying to murder him. He can't stay and fight with the Philistines because they don't trust him. And so he goes back to the place that he's called home now. And this is the worst of the worst. This is a bad situation. And he shows up only to discover that the little things that he had, the little thing that he had in his back pocket, well, I just go home and see my family, that everyone that he loved had been taken captive, and the little stuff that he had been set on fire. And so what he thought was bad goes to really, really, really bad. And I don't even have to wonder how David felt. We don't even have to try to conjure up the feelings that David would have, because the Bible would tell us exactly how David and the people that were in his army, when he comes back to Ziklag, how they would feel. Look at verse number 4. Then David and the people that were with him lifted up their voice and wept until they had no more power to weep. And David, verse 6 says, was greatly distressed. For now the people spake of stoning him, because the soul of the people was grieved, every man for his sons and for his daughter. So you got to understand how bad David has it right now. He feels rejected. He has no place to go. So he leaves what he knows as being a warrior and a leader to go home to try to make sense of it all, only to find his home is burned and his family has been kidnapped. Have you ever thought that you were at rock bottom, only to realize you still had 2 more stories to fall? Like, this is where David is. David had cried so many tears in this moment that he literally had no more strength to come up with any more tears, discouraged and in the depths of the worst season of his life. Can I ask somebody on a Wednesday night, what do you do when you have nothing left to give? What do you do when you have no strength to even cry another tear? And you feel it, but you don't even have water in your eyes because you are dehydrated because of the amount of tears that have fallen from your eyes. Let me show you what David did. And we read this, verse 6, but I didn't finish it. And David was greatly distressed, for the people spake of stoning him. By the way, the people that ran with him away from Saul are now turning on him. Like it's not good because they're all grieving for their sons and for their daughters. And watch what David does. But David encouraged himself in the Lord his God. See, there came a point when David had the option. He says, listen, I can either sit here and I can worry about how bad my life is, or I can choose to worship my way through all the hell that I'm going through right now. David had a choice. I can worry about it all, and I can sit here and I can wallow around in the hell that I'm dealing with, the mess that is called my life, or I can just go ahead and encourage myself in the Lord. Every once in a while, you just got to encourage yourself in the... David didn't wait for somebody else to come over and say, Brother David, God's got plans for your life. God's going to be with you. No, he didn't have anybody to do that. The people that had rode with him the longest were thinking about stoning him. He couldn't go. He had nobody. He was rejected. And sometimes when everybody seems to walk away, you got to have a moment where you get just you and God, and you just start encouraging yourself in the Lord. Mama may not do it, daddy may not do it, your coach may not do it, your pastor may miss the mark and not do it, but when nobody else does it, you got to encourage yourself in the Lord. David encourages himself, which implies active effort. See, when all hell breaks loose we got active effort. Here's our active effort too often, right? This is all of us. We sit there and we stir it up in our soul. Woo, we're active. We're active in our mind. Look at what, man, nobody likes me. Nobody cares about me. Nobody called me. Nobody in my small group cares about me. I can't believe they would. Gonna change churches. Nobody, what is happening? And we're laughing, and it is funny, but it's true. We're active we allow the enemy to attack our mind and convince us of things that aren't true. I wonder if maybe we could take a note out of David's playbook here, and we could start saying, you know what? When nobody else will do it, I know who I am. I know what God has called me to do, so I'm going to take a moment. If nobody else will do it, I'll just encourage myself in the Lord. I love David. David had moments of crazy. He did. But David's heart was right so often. And I think whether David did it intentionally or not, what he actually did in this season by encouraging himself in the Lord was start to reclaim his identity. And I can imagine him looking around at people who were considering stoning him, who had been like brothers to him. And I can picture him saying, listen, I know what you think of me right now. I know that I asked you to follow me. The Lord's got a plan for us, and that plan ain't working out. We just lost every little thing that we had. We lost our wife, we lost our children, but I am not who you say that I am. I know what God has said about me, and I'm not going to be defined by what you say about me. And it's interesting, isn't it, that in crisis, people start to lose sight of who they are. In moments of crisis, we start believing what our circumstances say around us. And as David is encouraging himself in the Lord, he's reestablishing the fact that I'm not going to be defined by the defeat that I see right in front of me. What he's reestablishing is the fact that I am a warrior, I am a mighty man of God, I have been anointed, and I have been appointed. This is what encouraging yourself in the Lord does for you. It reminds you of who you are. I'm not what my circumstances say. I'm not what they say about me. No. I'm going to remember who I am in God. I'm going to remember what God says about me. I'm going to go back to that moment when I was anointed by Samuel. I'm going to go back and remember the moment when God put his hand on my life, his stamp of approval, and said, I will use you in ways that you could have never dreamed possible. And then, this is good. Watch what David does next. Again, David has moments of crazy coming in the future, trust me. But watch what verse 7 says. And David says to Abiathar the priest, Ahimelech's son, I pray thee, bring me hither the ephod. That's fun to say. Bring me hither. I'm going to say that tonight. Bring me hither a cup of coffee, Cassidy. We'll see how well that goes. Bring me hither yourself a cup of coffee. I'm just kidding. She would never say that. And Abiathar brought him the ephod. And this is powerful because David is a leader of leaders. He is a strong leader. He was an incredibly strong military leader. But what this speaks to me so loudly is that this marks a return to spiritual leadership. That when everything was breaking loose in his life, that David didn't forget where his strength came from. David said, I'm here. Listen, I have nothing else to lose. I've literally lost everything that I have. I couldn't lose one more thing except that would be the very last. I've lost it all. And even at rock bottom, the only thing that I know to do in this moment is to turn to the God who rescued me every single time Saul tried to take me out. He rescued me when Goliath and I were going face to face. He rescued me when I was facing the lion and the bear. He says, bring me the ephod. I got to talk to God. He's saying, listen, I'm not leaving this place until I know what to do next. Because I don't know where to go from here. I don't know what tomorrow holds. And I got to have a word from the Lord. I need some direction. I need some clarity on my next move. Because if I move now without a word from the Lord, I'm going to move out of emotion. Because I'm angry right now. If I move right now, I'm gonna do something that I regret. If I'm gonna do something, I need to know that the Lord told me to do it. And even in the middle of his worst nightmare, David had the wherewithal to understand that I can't move until God tells me to move. I think that's powerful because there's people in this room right now going through the worst season of your life. And you're tempted to move. You're tempted to move out of anger. You're tempted to move out of frustration. You're tempted to move because nothing will give and nothing will break. Can I tell you, don't move until God gives you the green light. Don't move until God gives you the release to move. Timing matters. Direction matters. And we're about to see what happens, and I truly believe, I really, really believe that this ephod moment was the turning point between despair and destiny in David's life. Because for the last season, it had been solid despair. It had been bad on top of bad on top of bad, but we're about to see a shift. We're about to see something take place in David's, and I really believe, and I feel it in my spirit, that it is the reason that we see this shift from everything going so bad to everything starting to change, and we start to see David walking in what God was calling him to, is that he had this ephod moment, this moment where I got to talk to God when I'm at my lowest. I'm not going to rely on my own strength and my own wisdom and my own ability. And watch what happens next. So while wearing the ephod, David inquires of the Lord, shall I pursue after this troop? He's leading the Lord here. It's like leading the witness. Shall I pursue them, Lord? Shall I overtake them? And the Lord answered him, pursue. Pursue. For thou shalt surely overtake them, and without fail recover all. If that's not a clear word from the Lord, I don't know what a clear word is. And the word is this: pursue. This is the word that he got from the Lord. What he's telling David is that you've sat here long enough, you've cried all the tears that you can cry, and you've replayed over and over and over how it could have gone differently. And you've asked me, and I have now given you a word. The time of sitting here is over, David. You will sit in the middle of your mess no longer. And if you will allow it, there's about to be a shift take place in your life, David. You're about to go from despair to destiny. But if you're going to get there, you're going to have to dust yourself off of the junk that you've been sitting in. And I know it would be easier to sit there. I know it would feel better to placate yourself with poor, pitiful me. Look how bad I have it. But David, what I'm asking, if you're going to move into a different seat, if you're going to walk into your destiny, David, it's time for you to stand up right now and to start being active in what I'm calling you to do. Don't sit here any longer. Now is your chance to go. I'm giving you the green light to pursue. Will you do it? David obviously doesn't miss his opportunity, and I've got quite a bit of scripture here, but stay with me because this story is so powerful. Starting with verse number 9. So he gets the word to pursue, and David and 600 men with him came to Besor Valley, where some stayed behind. 200 of them were too exhausted to cross the valley, but David and the other 400 continued the pursuit. And there they found an Egyptian in a field. And they brought him to David. They gave him water to drink and food to eat, part of a cake of pressed figs and 2 cakes of raisins. And he ate and he was revived, for he had not eaten any food or drunk any water for 3 days and 3 nights. And David asked him, who do you belong to? Where do you come from? And he said, I'm an Egyptian, the slave of the Amalekite. My master abandoned me when I became ill 3 days ago. Now, this is a whole nother sermon, and I don't have time to preach it, but I will hit this. You don't get to treat people like trash when they have nothing left to offer you and think that God won't have something to say about it. Because God's about to use somebody that the enemy left discarded and left by the wayside because they had nothing left to offer them. God says, oh, I see. You think they have no value, but let me show you the value that I'm going to use the very thing that you discarded to overtake you. The thing that you threw away to climb and step on your way to something better will be the very thing that brings you down. Watch out. This is so powerful. And this is what he tells him. This is what this man left by the wayside, left for dead, that had nothing left to offer the enemy. He says, listen, we raided the Negev of the Kerethites, some territory belonging to Judah and the Negev of Caleb, and we burned Ziklag. That was us. David asked him, can you lead me down to this raiding party?" And the man answered, "Swear to me before God that you will not kill me or hand me back over to them, and I will take you down." And he led David down. I love how the Bible said, and there they were. And there they were. Watch this. Scattered over the countryside, eating, drinking, and reveling because of the great amount of plunder that they had taken from the land of the Philistines and from Judah. And David fought them from dusk until the evening of the next day. David did what David does. David went to battle. He had a green light from the Lord, and pursue he did. And watch what verse 18 says. David recovered everything that the Amalekites had taken, including his 2 wives, Old Testament, and nothing was missing. That's powerful. Nothing was missing. Young or old, boy or girl, plunder or anything else that they had taken, David brought everything back. So God uses a man that had been thrown by the wayside and been discarded because he had nothing to offer. And here's a word for somebody in the room tonight. I believe God's about to restore everything that the enemy has stolen from you during this season of your life. God's about to restore your time. Joel chapter 2 verse 25 says, "I will restore to you the years that the swarming locusts have eaten." Lost seasons, wasted years, or broken opportunities can and will be redeemed by the hand of a gracious God. Some of you in this room tonight, you feel like you have lost years of your life because of something that happened to you or a season of life that you can't get back. Can I tell you, there is nothing that our God can't do. He will restore the time that you thought was stolen from you by the enemy. He will restore it back to your life. For some of you, God's going to restore your joy. Psalm 51:12 says it this way, "Restore to me the joy of your salvation." You thought that the enemy had marched into your life and stole your joy for good. And what I've come to tell you tonight is the Lord is going to restore the joy that the enemy thought he stole for you forever. He may have taken it, but it's not forever. It's for a moment, and it's coming back. And it's not just coming back, it's coming back better. There's some of you in the room tonight, God's going to restore your health back to you. Jeremiah chapter 30 verse 17 says it this way, "I will restore to you health, and I will heal your wounds." The God that we worship is a healer. Sure, he can heal your body physically. Listen, I believe we've seen it time and time again. Need after need, God come through in a miraculous way. But not only can he heal your physical body, I need you to know that he can heal you emotionally. He can heal a wounded soul. He can heal a broken heart. That somebody misused you and mistreated you, and you feel like that you're not lovable. I need you to know tonight that God's going to restore health to you. God's going to bring it back. You're going to get back everything that the enemy stole, and nothing will be missing. You will be lacking nothing. David went and he took back everything that the enemy stole, everything. There were no little pieces that the enemy got to keep. There were no small little things that the enemy got to keep in his back pocket and said, ha, 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 I still have that. No. The enemy will not have a foothold in your life. The foothold is gone. The foothold that he has had in your life, the Lord says, I will restore it to you. Now, this is my favorite part. Not only will he restore it back to you, but you got to remember that verse 14 told us that the same people that burned Ziklag first raided the Negev of the Kerethites and then the Negev of Caleb before pillaging Ziklag. Which means they had a whole lot of spoils from war. And verse 19 tells us that David brought everything back. Which means that the God that we serve will not just give it back and restore it to you, but you're going to come back better. He's going to restore your joy, not just give you the joy you had, but he's going to give you joy overflowing. He's not just going to kind of heal you, he's going to give you complete healing in your mind. You're not going to be healed and made whole for a weekend. No. He's going to do such a work in your life that you won't have to pray about it again. He'll do more. What's crazy is David didn't even ask for more. David just wanted his wives back and his children back. He wanted back what the enemy stole. And God said, listen, I know you've been in this season, and when I start to restore you, I restore with multiplication. So somebody in the room needs to be on the lookout for the way that God restores. And when God restores with multiplication in your life, you got to be quick to give him glory. You got to be quick to honor him. You got to be quick to say, listen, this is not what I did. This is not my talents and my abilities. This is only by the grace of God that I'm standing here today. If it weren't for the Lord, where would I be? David is a living, breathing example that what started in loss can end in overflow. That your recovery will include interest. That God always takes care of his people. That you don't have to only recover what's been stolen, but God can give you what you didn't even know to ask for. Would you stand with me all across the room tonight? I want to invite our prayer partners down front. Tonight is a reminder for those of you that feel just like David. It's not for everybody. I understand that. But I know that the word of the Lord spoke to some people's hearts tonight. Because you felt rejected by humanity. You've been tempted to believe that your circumstances define who you are. And tonight is a reminder. Tonight is the reminder that you needed in yours. Some of you may have even been praying prayers. God, I need confirmation in my spirit. I need to know that you're still with me. I need to know that you haven't left me when everybody else has walked away. Can I let you know this is your confirmation right now? This is the confirmation you've been praying about. Our worship team is going to sing another worship song as we close our time out tonight. But if you're in the room tonight and maybe you feel like this is your moment. This is your ephod moment where you ask God for direction. And God's giving you clear, maybe you need direction. Maybe that's what you're walking down here for prayer for. Listen, partner with me in prayer. I need a word from the Lord. I need to know before I move. Because if I move without knowing, I may make the wrong mistake because I'm emotional right now. I'm frustrated. I'm angry right now. I need a word from the Lord. Or maybe the enemy has stolen so much from you that you have a word from the Lord and you need something restored in your life tonight. Maybe you need your joy back tonight. Maybe you need your health back tonight. If that's you, I wonder when I finish praying, I wonder if you would step out from where you are and make your way down here. Listen, the people at the front here, there's nothing super special about them. I mean, they're amazing people. I'm not trying to be rude. You guys are awesome. But they love God and they believe in the power of prayer and they love you and they want to partner with you. And we've been where you are. We've all had those moments. But I believe tonight God's going to restore some things that you thought were lost forever. It's coming back. And it's not just coming back.